Hey everyone, this is Zach, the broker of Zach Taylor Real Estate. Today we got some crap to talk about. Sorry for the bad pun, but today is all about septic tanks and septic systems. So a lot of homeowners in the Southeast are on a septic tank. I've seen a lot of studies show that between 25 to up to 33% of homeowners are on a septic tank. So they're not connected to city sewer. They're on these septic tanks. So that's what I want to cover today. What are they? Why does it matter? And how we properly disclose them as real estate agents. So to begin, I want to play a really quick clip to kind of highlight what a septic tank is. And every resource that I list today, I'm going to put in the description down below. That way you can access it at any time and use it as a resource. So let's jump in. Let's kind of see how a septic tank works. So as you can see, the wastewater from the home, every time you flush a toilet, the washer, whatever, any wastewater goes into the septic tank right here. And then it separates, and these little microbes eat the waste, and then wastewater goes up here and goes through the tank, and then eventually will go into the drain fields out here. And then the drain fields release this wastewater and it goes into the soil where the soil cleans it up one final time. And then it can have problems. So if you're putting a lot of extra wastewater, if you have too many people living in the home, if you keep building on bedrooms, if you throw in chemicals, garbage disposals are really bad if you're throwing a bunch of stuff down the garbage disposal. So then you can have this backflow and odor and everything else. So that's kind of a septic tank, as you kind of saw the flow of how everything works. But here it is again, just a little diagram. Again, I'll link this PDF down below. But you have your house, and again, like I said, if you're not connected to a sewer system, you have a septic tank. And the reason for this is to properly get rid of wastewater and not contaminate the groundwater below. So the wastewater leaves your house through the pipe into the septic tank. All the like sludge and all that stuff kind of settles at the bottom. The microbes eat it. There's wastewater. The water leaves through here, and then it leaves these drain fields into the soil one more time to be cleaned, so that way we don't contaminate the groundwater. So that's a septic tank in a nutshell. Again, I'll link these below. This document is actually really helpful. It is from the EPA. So it's just kind of good information to have on hand. Again, it goes through the structure. So the pipe, all your household water exits your home. Septic tank is a buried watertight container, typically made of concrete, fiberglass, and then it holds the wastewater long enough to allow solids to settle out and the wastewater to rise, to go through here into the drain fields. And then after the drain fields, it goes into the soil, which is the final treatment by removing harmful bacteria, viruses, and nutrients, and avoid contamination into the groundwater. So that is a septic tank. There are important things to know with it. So you shouldn't be driving heavy machinery over it, cars, parking a bunch of cars on top of this. Obviously, you can't put in a pool back here. So if you're working with buyers and they're interested in putting in a pool, you should know where the septic tank is, because you can't build it on top of that. And then also to avoid potential problems in the future, as you saw in the video, like where it backs up or kind of water starts pooling in the soils. So that can result from too much wastewater going down. And that can happen if the house was permitted for a 3-bedroom house. That's basically saying, hey, the septic system can only handle a 3-bedroom home. So if you're having too many people in the house, if you're building onto the home and keep adding bedrooms that aren't permitted, well, now all of a sudden that septic system is overwhelmed and it starts leaking back into the home or into the yard. So it's important to know what the home is permitted for. It's also helpful to use water efficient with your fixtures, like high efficiency toilets, better washers that use less water. There's different ways to cut down on how much wastewater you're putting down the drain. And so I would check out this PDF for helpful information. Again, household cleaners can be harmful. Hot tubs with that much water itself, garbage disposals, putting a bunch of garbage down the garbage disposal can be bad. And then another helpful video is actually, this was created by the Williamson County Association of Realtors. It is 2.5 hours, but it is kind of A to Z about septic systems. So it goes really in depth. It was put on by Brian Corwin. So I recommend in your free time, go ahead and watch this video. That way you further understand septic systems. And so why does all this matter? Well, one, a lot of homes are on it, but two, what we run into is as real estate agents, especially if we're going to list a house, we have to know how many bedrooms the house is permitted for, and that's what we're going to have to advertise the home as. So with our septic systems, like I said earlier, it's permitted for a certain number of bedrooms because the septic system itself can only handle that many occupants in the home. It doesn't matter how many bathrooms. You could have 10 bathrooms, but it's only permitted for 3 bedrooms. So I can only list the home as a 3-bedroom house. So that's what this question is right here. How should I list an older 1974 5-bedroom home that is showing the septic permit for a 3-bedroom home? Does it need to be listed as a 3-bedroom, but mention there are 2 additional sleeping areas, or listed as a 5-bedroom with a disclaimer that the septic was installed for a 3-bedroom? The attorneys answered, in Tennessee, an agent and seller should only advertise a home for how many bedrooms it is permitted. You may advertise the home as having 3 bedrooms and 2 bonus rooms, offices, etc., in order to avoid a possible misrepresentation claim. So that's where the issues can arise if we list this as a 5-bedroom home, even though it's only permitted for a 3-bedroom. So this is also helpful information to read through. But again, we want to avoid this because there's a general prohibition in the Tennessee Consumer Protection Act, which states that unfair or deceptive acts or practices are Class B misdemeanors. So we want to avoid misrepresentation. And then another possible area of concern in disclosure of adverse facts. So it says a real estate agent is required to disclose to each party to the transaction any adverse facts of which the licensee has actual knowledge or notice. So that could be misrepresentation. Finally, you would be in violation of Article 12 of the NAR Code of Ethics. Article 12 states that realtors shall be honest and truthful in their real estate communications and shall present a true picture in their advertising, marketing, or other representations. So the next question that comes is, well, how do we find out what the home is permitted for? And so there's 2 ways to do this. One is if we're getting ready to list a home, or if we're working with a buyer and the seller, the listing agent hasn't found out how many bedrooms the home is permitted for, there's 2 resources we can go to. So one is this website right here. There's going to be a shorter website when I click the next screen, but it's run by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. So we click on Septic System Record Search. And then this is the shorter website to remember, but you can put in the property owner, street address. So if I put in this home, for example, hit submit, it'll search the records. And then it found a record. So I'll click view. My Wi-Fi is running a little bit slow, it looks like. Okay, so now here's the information regarding our septic tank for the property that I searched. And you can see here's different paperwork. Here's an application. Here's a permit. And it shows for a 3-bedroom home right here, 3 bedrooms. This is the permit. So the owner shouldn't be advertising the home as a 4-bedroom. And especially as a real estate agent listing this home, I shouldn't put 4 bedrooms. I'm going to have to put 3 bedrooms plus an office or plus a bonus room. And then you can see too, for the permitting, it shows where the house is, where the tank is, where the drain fields are. And then here's another map. So this is helpful too for your clients if you're working on the buy side. That way they know, hey, I can't put a pool right here. So this is just helpful information to have. So that's one resource, is the website that I showed right here. I'm gonna go back. This website to search. Another helpful information is not every county has their records digitized online. So the second way to find this information is to fill out this form. Request for information from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, Division of Groundwater Protection. It's form RF 710. So you fill out this form, you sign it, and then you email it to right here, septicsystems.files@tn.gov. And you attach it, you send it to them. They're really quick on responding. Usually they get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. I submitted this and it was within 10 minutes they responded back initially. So you can see right here is a good example. Tipton County septic files are currently with our contractor being digitized. So by emailing them, they were able to make the request to pull the record. And then after this, they followed up and they got me a very similar looking forms like this. So that's two ways you can look into what does this property, what is it actually permitted for the septic tank. And then let me go into dot loop. So again, here's this form. Here's the email one more time, septicsystem.files@tn.gov, or you can quickly search through here. But you make this request, and here's kind of the workflow. If I'm working with a seller and we're getting ready to list a property, I want to make this request and find out how many bedrooms the house is permitted for before we list the property. That way, there's no chance of misrepresentation later on. I know it was permitted for this. I don't want to put 4 bedrooms based on what the owner says, and then we found out, hey, it's 3 bedrooms, but we're already under contract before I can change it back down to a 3-bedroom. So that's kind of the workflow. Find out first before you list the property, submit this form or look up online, and then we use this form. So the subsurface sewage disposal system permit disclosure. It's very similar like lead-based paint. If the house was built prior to 1978, we use the lead-based paint disclosure. If we're working with a VA or FHA buyer, we use the VA FHA addendum. Same thing with septic tanks. If there's a septic system, we use the subsurface sewage disclosure. So you just put in the property address, and then you would check this. If a permit was issued and found, you can say, hey, it's only permitted for a 3-bedroom house. And then everybody signs it, buyers and sellers. If a permit was not found, which can happen in very old homes, you would check this one and say the file could not be located, or permit was not issued for this property if it's an unpermitted septic tank. So either one in that scenario, and then everybody signs it, buyer, seller, and then you have this signed when you have the purchase and sale agreement. That way, both parties are on the same page. Buyers know, hey, this was only permitted for a 3-bedroom. The seller listed the property as a 3-bedroom. Everybody signed off on this. There's no confusion whatsoever. And then as an agent, you're avoiding any potential legal issues in the future by using the proper disclosures. And then one more thing with the purchase and sale agreement, they did add the brand new paragraph, and that is under, let me find that, public water or public sewer systems. So this is another thing that came up. I like that they added this paragraph in the purchase and sale agreement. It makes things more fair. But what this paragraph is going over is basically there are situations where a home was built and uses a septic tank, and maybe it might have been a rural area at the time, but development has come out that way. Well, now the city sewer system has reached out to that area. It's now all through the neighborhood. And whenever that property ownership changes hands or there's a change of ownership, the city sometimes will require the new homeowner to connect to the sewer system and abandon the septic tank. And that can be a very large financial cost. So let's go ahead and read this paragraph real quick. In the event it is discovered that public water or public sewer system is accessible to the property and connection to the property is required by a governmental agency, authority, or a lender, buyer shall promptly notify the seller via the notification form or equivalent. Seller and buyer shall have 5 days following such written notice, but not later than the closing date, to negotiate in good faith the payment for the cost and the connection to the public water or public sewer system. In the event seller and buyer do not reach a mutual written agreement for the payment of such cost or a mutually agreeable written extension, this agreement is hereby terminated. If terminated, the buyer is entitled to a refund of the earnest money trust money. So this is just saying, hey, if it's required to connect to that city sewer system now, that both parties should work together to try to figure out a solution. If a solution isn't reached, then this agreement is terminated and buyer gets the earnest money back. Final tip for real estate agents. This paragraph goes outside of our normal inspection period. So if we have a 5-day inspection period, but on day 15, we find out, hey, we have to connect to the sewer system, this paragraph is still valid and enforceable. So it doesn't just have to be within the inspection period. We have to find out if it has to be connected. It's saying at any time up until closing, if we find out that it has to be a connection, now we have to come up with a solution. Otherwise, this is going to be terminated. So that's kind of Septic Systems 101 for real estate agents, what they are, why it matters, so we don't get in trouble with misrepresentation, how to find the permits, and then how to properly list properties. And that way we avoid any trouble altogether. We help our client out on the buy side know what the house is permitted for, so they know what they're buying. Sellers aren't falsely advertising. So it's a win-win. Here's Septic 101. Hope this helps you guys out. Subscribe to the channel for more helpful information coming up. And again, all the resources I mentioned are going to be in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.